Hi, I'm Tami Utley. Today we're going to be doing a man's cake, normally a man's cake. It's a dartboard cake. My husband used to play cricket a lot on the darts in the places that had cricket boards, and so we had a bristle board at home, and so I grabbed one of his darts, one I could find. This one actually isn't a bristle board, it's a plastic board dart, but it was the only dart he had, and it had a flight on it. But anyway, so I decided, okay, we're doing a dart cake. So the first thing I did is I made a 12-inch round cake and covered it with fondant, and my fondant was very dry, and I creased it where I needed to make 20 markings in it. So I used a divider and divided it where the 10s were and marked it where the 10s were. This is a 12-inch cake. So I stuck it on where the 10s were, and then another 10 was here, and then I just divided that in half, and that gave me 20 marks. And I basically just took a ruler and went from mark to mark. So from 10 to 10, and then marked it, and then from 10 to 10, and then marked it. And as you can see, my fondant was very dry, and so it actually indented the cake a little bit. But that's okay, because we're going to be covering it up with layers of fondant where the red and the green and the white stripes are going to go. So that's how we marked it. Just mark every 10 and then divide those 10s in half, and you end up with 20 spaces. So now what we need to do is we need to figure out how we're going to make all the pieces that go in it. I have a picture of a dartboard somewhere. Here it is. And the 20 is at the top, and I don't know their numbering, why they number, where they do. It looks haphazard to me, but we will do our best to follow this. But as you can see, this is the dartboard that I was most familiar with. It was the red and green with the white, and it's actually almost a bristle board. It's almost an off-white, and it's got looks like it's got dirt running through the white. So we're actually going to marble our white just a tiny little bit to get that look, and then black, black and white or cream or whatever. So, and then we're going to pipe with royal icing. So some of the things we're going to use some circle cutters. This is a 12-inch cake, as I told you. So we're using a 3 1/4 and a 3 3/4 circle cutters, and then I'm going to use an 8-inch board, and then I'm going to try and eyeball slightly in from that 8-inch. We're also going to be using a hex cutter to make the flights. Some of the flights are actually heart-shaped, so you could use a heart. They're like teardrops, and so you could actually use a teardrop cutter, a heart-shaped cutter as well, or a rose petal, and just cut the rose petal in half, like I'm going to show you with this. We actually fold this in half. Well, you could do like a large rose petal, which would make a teardrop, or a heart, which would make a teardrop flight for your darts. So that's an option. If you don't have a hex cutter, I know that the rose petal, which is a teardrop-like cutter, or a heart-shaped cutter, is a lot easier to see. We're going to need some red and white fondant. I am going to use spaghetti for my darts, for the shafts of my darts. And I'm going to need fondant with a little bit of Tylose in it. Some white fondant with a little bit of Tylose in it. I'm also going to use some, this is non-toxic silver dust. Now, you're not supposed to eat this, but I'm only using it on the flights, so I would hope people aren't going to eat these darts anyway, but I mean, you really don't want them to. It's non-toxic, so it's not going to hurt them, but it's not, edible. So if you want, you can always just use a gray color, or just make your flights different. My flights were silver, make your flights some other color. I'm going to use some alcohol to help paint my darts. I'm going to use some royal icing to pipe. And I think that's about it. So let's go ahead and get started. Okay, I showed you how I already marked this, so I'm going to move this aside just a little bit. And I'm going to start on this interior part here. I need to make all these wedges. So I can start with the center, or I can start with the big outside. So I need white. The cake itself is already black, so I want to do the white part here.